Showtime for the Morning Combat Podcast, joined by now, I guess, former UFC flyweight Jimmy Flick. Jimmy, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. How are y'all?
I'm doing quite well. All right, so let's sort of set up why we're talking here. You have been with the UFC for a little bit of a while now, and you had a fight coming up, I believe, on May 8th. We'll talk about that in just a second. But a video came out over the weekend where you had abruptly announced your retirement. So set up the stage for me, for folks. Most people have seen the video, but for folks who have not, where was this, and why did you decide? Where was this, and why did you decide to retire now?
Back in 2020 here locally, it was on Labor Day of 2020 last year. I fought for the freestyle cage fighting 125 title. That's a company that's local here, and the owner of the company is named Dorothy, and she became my manager. After we had the talk and everything, I decided to have the Corner and the Casual podcast, which are two of my best friends, show up at Freestyle Cage Fighting event here locally and announce my retirement from mixed martial arts.
And so that was the mechanism of it. That was the place. What city was it in, by the way?
Broken Arrow, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. It's right outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And you're from Oklahoma, as I understand it, correct?
Yes, sir. In a little town called Sand Springs, Oklahoma.
All right. My dad grew up in Lawton, for whatever that is worth. So I have a little bit of Oklahoma ties myself. But okay, you decided to retire. First of all, how old are you?
30 years old.
Okay, so why did you decide to retire?
It took a lot, and over the last couple weeks, I haven't had the urge to train as much as I usually do. I wasn't striving. I was missing training sessions. I didn't know what was going on. But back when I fought on the Tuesday Night Contender, I told a lot of people that I lost my dad and my brother, not actually like lost them to death, but I've lost them over drugs. I've lost them throughout the fight game. And me and my dad and my brother, we started it all together, and we all had goals and we had plans in life and where this was going to take us. And my dad invested a lot. He had a job. He made over $100,000 a year. I dropped out of school at 17 years old to move to Corpus Christi, Texas, to pursue a dream in mixed martial arts. And it started with Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I fell in love with it. I wrestled my whole life from when I was 3 years old. And throughout my career, my dad and my brother ended up getting back into drugs, and I kept fighting, and I kept striving for goals. And my goal was always to make that UFC walk. I always thought when I made that walk, my dad and my brother would be with me. And they weren't. And when I fought on the Tuesday Night Contender before I made that walk, I reached out. I told them, like, I want y'all there. I want you to be there. Please give the drug life up. Give that life up. Even if y'all say y'all are not doing drugs, better your life. Reach out to me. Come see my kids. Come see me. Call me. Talk to me. I've called my dad. He don't talk to me about fighting. He don't congratulate me on fighting. And over Easter weekend, I met with my dad, and he was there at my sister's house. And most of the time I'm not with my family on holidays, not the Flick family, my wife's family, but not the Flick family. My sister invited me out, said she really would love for me and the kids to come out. I said, I'll be there. I brought my kids out. My dad was there. We ain't talked much. You know, he knew I had a fight coming up, though. And he told me he was proud of me. I'm 30 years old. At the age of 20, not only did I still pursue fighting, I started working. I found a job to take care of my family. Me and my wife got land. We have a house. We own vehicles. We take care of our kids. It hit me the wrong way when my dad didn't tell me he was proud of me years ago. He told me he was proud of me after I made the UFC. He should have been proud of me a long time ago. And I didn't like that about it. And the next day when I woke up, I found out I was fighting to have my dad back in my corner. But my dad never said anything about wanting to be in my corner. He never said anything about wanting to be there anymore. All he said is just proud of me. Probably because he felt obligated to tell me he was proud of me. Is he really proud of me? I don't know. Because a long time ago when he got back into drugs and I lost him and my brother, I told him he couldn't be in my corner no more. And I know it hurt my dad when I said, when I told him that, but I didn't do it to hurt him. I did it for my career. I did it for him to see why I did it. He knew why I did it, but he won't take the actions to be in my corner anymore. So I found out I was fighting for my dad, and I don't want to fight for him no more. I don't want to fight for his love. I don't want to fight for him to be in my kid's life. I have a 9-year-old. I have a 4-year-old. Neither one of them really know my dad. My mom comes out and watches my kids. Dad never comes. After I win my fights, it takes my mom a couple days, but she tells me congratulations. My dad doesn't. He gave up on me a long time ago, and I tried not to give up on him. But Sunday after that, I gave up on trying to get my dad in my corner. And that's why I retired from mixed martial arts. And that's why I told people I'm going to write a book. And I want to give up mixed martial arts to spend more time with my family. I've been married to my wife for 9 years. Not one time has she asked me to hang up the gloves. Not one time has she gave up on my dreams. And she has goals. She has dreams. Since I accomplished mine at 30 years old, and I was still fighting for the wrong reasons. Now I want to fight for my family. I want to fight for my wife. I want to fight for my kids, but that's not through mixed martial arts anymore. That's through being here, to be a dad, go to work. I make a good living. Me and my wife, we work hard. We're smart with our money. And it was never about money. It was never about fame. It never was when I got into the sport. I just wanted to become somebody. Now I can write my book. I can go talk to kids, and I can tell kids here from Sand Springs, Oklahoma, you can strive, you can reach your goals. And I'll tell them my life, what I came with, what I came up from, how my life was. It wasn't easy. At 6 years old, my parents got busted. Cops came into my house, took us. They never explained to me why. I never knew what really happened to my parents, but I knew that I lived a different life than kids at school, that my life was going to be different. We had DHS come into our house constantly, and my parents told me what to say. I didn't know why. And I think of it, I'm 30 years old now, and I think of the life that I lived. I'm happy of the person I became, but I'm not happy with the life that my parents provided, besides the fact that it made me a great person and it made me realize what I don't want in life.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack there. I appreciate your candor because I know this can be a difficult and trying topic. So if I could understand what you're saying, if I could sum it up, it sounds like it's a little bit twofold. One, you were fighting for a cause that ultimately was not going to work out in the way you had hoped. That's one. And then two, in pursuit of that and realizing that it probably wasn't going to go the way you had intended, you wanted to set a better example for your children that you already have so that you wouldn't pass on the pain that had been given to you, it sounds like. Is that right? Is that a fair assessment?
100%, because everybody's like, well, Jimmy, you can be UFC champ. I 100% believe that. But I also believe if I become UFC champ, I'm going to give more time to the gym than I will give to my family, than I will give to my girls. And in 10 years, will I have a relationship with them? Will they be happy with me? Will they feel the same way I felt about my dad? And I realized that's not what I want. I don't want to do that to them. I already drag them to the gym 3 days a week. I take them to the gym with me after work when I'm already at work. And I work all day. My wife brings them to me while she can go and do what she does. She's a nail technician and brings me the kids. And then I make them be at the gym from 4 to 9 o'clock at night, sometimes later. And then I'll get angry because they're acting up and they're kids. They're going to act up. They need to act up. I mean, I'm bringing them to a gym and I'm making them sacrifice what they want to do as kids while I can keep fighting and on top of it, keep working. So to do both, they're never getting their dad. And then, so I put it all into perspective. What I want more, and I want my family more. I've already lost my dad. I've already lost my brother. And I don't want to lose nobody else.
How old are your children? Can I ask?
9 and 4.
Wow. So one of them you've had since you were like what 20, 21, right at the beginning, essentially of. Wow, that's crazy. So okay, so then let's sort of separate out here things just a little bit. Like, how, do you love training on any level? Like, how much of it has just been the pursuit of? And by the way, I think a lot of fighters are like you. I cannot tell you how many times I've talked to where they're looking at. We had Rashad Evans on the show yesterday, UFC Hall of Famer, and he told us he was looking at fighting to bury demons, to therapy for him. He needed it, and then when he felt better about his life and things got in order, he didn't really want to fight anymore. It just wasn't the same way. So like your story in many ways, in that sense, is kind of similar. But I would ask though, has there ever been a part where you were like, man, I really do love this thing, or was it all in service of something else?
Well, it all started just as nobody told me I was going to accomplish nothing in life. I didn't get a diploma. I didn't get a GED. And I wanted to prove people wrong that I could accomplish something in life. And the way I grew up and I was around drugs all the time, I knew I didn't want to be around that life. I knew I wanted kids. I knew I wanted a wife. I knew I wanted a family. That's always been a goal of mine as well. But I wanted to become something. And my goal was to become something. And I feel I did. I became something. I became enough to where I can become a role model for kids. Now, did I think I would just get to the UFC and stop? No, I never did. I thought I would have my dad. I thought I'd have my brother. I would strive for more goals. I would have more to push for. And like you said with Rashad Evans, he had demons and stuff he was fighting. And I feel that's, like you said, the same thing. I was fighting for all the wrong reasons. That's why I kept pushing. I kept fighting and I kept pushing. And once I reached my goals, and then I didn't get my dad back, I didn't get my brother back. And I feel like I'm going to start losing my family because I'm going to put more work in. I'm going to put more effort into it just to be better every time and better every time. But you don't make enough money to quit your job. And I'm still going to have to keep pushing and doing both and spending more time away from my family. But that Easter Sunday when I talked with my dad, it took everything out of my heart. That Monday morning when I woke up, I've never felt so much pain. And I had a weird dream. And then when I woke up, it was just, but I was like, I got to go to gym. And then I went to gym and I didn't want to be there no more. It's not like it used to be. Like I used to love it. I used to love Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I was happy. I would be excited to go to the gym. And even 2 years ago when I joined Forza Combat Sports, I hired a striking coach. And that really lit a fire under my butt because if most people look, like I got 5 losses, 4 of them are by knockout. I was tired of getting knocked out. So I hired one of the best striking coaches around. And now every day I loved being at gym. I loved learning mitts. And after I made it to the UFC, I didn't get the call from my dad. And that was a big part. I thought, my dad would call and then try to be in my life. And I reached out and I reached out, and it just wasn't happening. And then the Easter thing happened, and then that's when I put everything into perspective, and I found out I was fighting for all the wrong reasons, and I don't have the passion and the love for training like I used to.
What is, if I may ask, what is your wife saying about all of this?
That Monday morning when I called her, she was in big shock, and she thought that it was just one of those things where I had been training too hard and I was just overwhelmed with everything going on. I was pushing myself too hard. And I was like, look, baby, that's not it. And then I just started breaking down to her and just bringing up old stuff and telling her the feelings of my dad and what happened and the dream I had that night. And she told me, you need to take off work. You need to come home. We need to get this figured out. If you need to see anybody to talk about this. And we called my manager. We had over a 2-hour conversation with my manager, and we sat on it for a few days, and they didn't want me to make any rash decisions. And I said, let's sit on it for a few days. So I called my mom. Right? It's my mom and dad's phone, but it's whoever answers. Well, 9 times out of 10, it's my mom because it comes up on the caller ID, and my dad won't answer. And my mom answered, and I told my mom, I said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm going to retire from mixed martial arts. And she was like, oh, okay. I kind of seen it coming. I didn't know how long you were going to do it. But they never really, she never asked why. I wanted her to tell my dad. I wanted my dad to ask why. I wanted my dad to be like, what's going on? My dad never got on the phone. My dad never called me. Dad still hasn't called me. I announced my retirement last week on video live. They didn't call me. I called my mom again on Monday to see what they had to say. My mom answers, act like nothing happened. They never brought it up. My dad never asked any questions, and dad never asked to talk to me. I'm not fighting. I'm not fighting for his love no more. And I called my manager. I said, that's what I want to do. I want to retire, and I want to announce it at your event. And that's what we did. And ever since I made that announcement, I still haven't heard from my dad, but I've been so happy.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I was gonna ask. I know it sounds like you're in pain, and it sounds like, with this kind of situation, I'll just be honest with you, Jimmy, it's probably gonna follow you for a little while longer. It's not so easy to just run away from our problems. I'm 40, so I got a decade on you. And I'm not that I've lived your life. I certainly haven't, but life has finding a way of slapping the shit out of you one way or the other, right? It'll get you. But I will say this: you did find some relief in announcing it and in talking about it and getting it off your chest. I know you've done some interviews. I'm happy to hear that you feel at least somewhat relief, right?
Oh yeah, the best thing. Just the other day, I wake up. I usually wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym. My alarm's set for 6:30 now. That's great. I love it. I get up at 6:30. I make my coffee. I start making breakfast. My 4-year-old wakes up. She comes running in, jumps in my arms. Can you put me on the couch? Can I have some chocolate milk? Oh yeah, baby. They make you some chocolate milk. You want some chocolate donuts, dude? He's got some chocolate donuts. Yeah, we put on cartoons. Yeah, put on cartoons. Put her on the couch. Buttle her all up. She gives daddy a kiss. I miss it all the time. I'm never home in the morning. I don't get to see that. It was amazing, and it was heartwarming. When I told my kids, I was like, "How do you feel about daddy spending more time with y'all and not going to the gym as much? Can we ride our bikes more? You took us a ride of bikes at the park the other day. Can we do that more? Oh yeah, we're gonna do that a lot more, baby." And my 9-year-old, she was kind of wore out from the gym. Do I have to go to the gym anymore? Not if you don't want to, baby. But I do want you to do some kind of activity. Well, can I race bikes? Can I cheerlead? Yes. If you'll do something that you think you'll be happy with that you want to do, daddy will be happy to take you to do that. I want to spend more time with you. I want to be there. And it's been great. They want me to sleep with them, tell them stories, read them stories. I don't have to worry about being grumpy, about cutting weight. We want McDonald's. Oh, yeah, daddy can eat McDonald's with you too. Like it's been amazing. And I'm only 30. So now I have way more time. And if my story gets out and I get to write this book and the book turns out great, that's going to change my kid's life. It's going to change my life. And it's going to be awesome. And I've already been contacted by a UFC vet. He's 42 years old without saying his name. And he told me that when he heard my story yesterday from one of the other podcasts, I think MMA Fighting, he said, I changed his life. He said, I've been fighting and coming out of retirement multiple times, and I never knew why I kept fighting. He said, Jimmy, your story changed my life. And I told him, you so much. I really appreciate that. Because I get so many messages. Social media is crazy. And I have Instagram, I have Twitter, and I have Facebook. I have a fan page. I tried to, create my name to be able to get to the UFC. That's what they want. You want to have a big following. The more following, the bigger your name is, the better chance you have of making it. And then now people just want to shit on me. Like my family doesn't matter, or my feelings don't matter, or my choices don't matter. So just because y'all want me to, or you think I'm the best jiu-jitsu guy, I'm supposed to keep fighting just because y'all want me to? Like, no, that's not how it works, unfortunately. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't put too much stock into that, Jimmy, if I could just be honest with you. I mean, yes, it's annoying. I'm not like you, but I get the occasional inbox of morons mouth breathing their way through some kind of terrible argument. You just got to move on from it. But so let me sort of circle back here. When you think about your career, forget about for just a moment the why, which I realize was a centering focus. But do you have a moment that you look back on and you say, "Wow, I'm really proud of that"? Like, just from a fighting standpoint, is there from a professional accomplishment? Is it just getting to UFC? Is there a moment in a fight? What is it when you look back on what you did that brings you the most joy or feeling of accomplishment?
Oh, my biggest one, and I always, always, always think of, is the Johnny Bedford fight. Is when I fought UFC vet Johnny Bedford. It all started from a Facebook post where somebody said, it was Colin Contrell, said, nobody will fight Johnny Bedford. And I said, I literally just had my baby and I'm in the hospital 2 days after the one that's 4, named Raina. She was just born, not in the gym at all. And I said, babe, they're saying nobody will fight Johnny Bedford. Can I comment on there? I was like, I don't know when it is, though. She's like, oh, yeah, go for it. So I commented, I was like, I'll fight Johnny Bedford. And I had already lost to Levi Miles. Levi Miles, one of Johnny Bedford's prospects. But I was on a 2-fight win streak since I lost to Levi. And I asked for that fight. And we get home with the baby, and we're at her mom's house. And my manager messages me and says, the fight's in 5 weeks. It's the main or co-main event at this time for LFA 16. I said, I want it. I don't care about the money. I know they're going to pay me like not good, but it's not about the money. I want this opportunity. I dropped my stuff. I put my running shoes on, and I ran 8 miles that day. I had not been in the gym in multiple weeks. My wife was having a baby, and I dropped everything. I ran 8 miles. I don't think I've ever ran 8 miles at one time before. And I changed everything for that fight camp. I went and bought weights. I put them outside of my house. I worked out in the morning. I went to work. I went to gym. I went to work. I went to gym. I had a job the whole time. Didn't get a day off until the week of the fight. And then we go down there. Johnny's laughing. Everybody's underestimating me. They're doing interviews. We're knocking him out. We're going to the UFC, doing all this stuff. Who cares about Jimmy? He's just a jiu-jitsu guy. He ain't got no heart. He ain't got nothing. And I went down there. We ended up being the main event. The main event got canceled. He had his kid in the back, his wife in the back. It's paying me no respects, man. And I felt so disrespected. And I told my cornerman, I had my best friend and one of my little buddies. I didn't have one of my coaches at the time. Um, so that's all I had. And it just me and them two went down there. I had a couple fans come down. And in that fight, after I kicked Johnny in the face, we got in a scramble. I knew it. I broke him right off the bat. He started trying to eye gouge me. The ref was telling him no eye gouging. And I just kept pushing. In the third round, I was like, I'm going to go to a decision with Johnny Bedford. And as soon as I said that, my cornerman, my best friend Mike Jackson, was like, no, come on, you can finish him. Don't go to the judges. Not again. And the reason he said that is because when we fought in Albuquerque, New Mexico in the main event, I dominated this guy for 3 rounds. And I thought I was going to coast in the third round and win a decision against Tim Sosa. I ended up losing that fight by unanimous decision in his hometown. Ever since, I've never hit the scorecards. And when my cornerman said that, not shortly after, I locked in that choke and I put Johnny Bedford to sleep. And it was the biggest win of my career. It was life-changing. And I'll never forget that night.
How much of this decision is because the way it's been portrayed a little bit in the media is that MMA didn't provide you with like the monetary rewards. And I don't think that those are bad arguments per se, but it just seems like from what you're telling me, that's not really the story. The story is a story about you and your relationship to estranged members of your family. That seems like what the story is. How much of it was your relationship with UFC?
None. And that's why I had to clarify that. And at first, I think I was trying to hide from it. Let's be honest. I mean, I didn't want to break down to everybody. I don't. And anytime I bring up my father, it hurts. So I had said, I had brought up the fact that we don't have 401k and benefits. So is that part of my decision? Yeah, it has been, because my job is, gives me 401k, gives me benefits. I've been there over 5 years.
Real quickly, what do you do?
I'm a CNC saw operator. So I run a huge $250,000 saw. I cut material all day.
Okay.
And I've been there for over 5 years. And I've had a 401k with them. And I've been building that. And I've always known you want to have a 401k, you want to have a fallback. But in one of my interviews, I started out a little strong, but I told them that is not why I am doing this, that I've lost the heart for this because of what I used to fight for and what I found out what I was fighting for with with my dad and the UFC. But I told him in one interview, I was like, the UFC never did me wrong. I knew what contract I signed, and they did everything they said they were going to do. I knew what my show money was. I knew what my win money was. I knew if I win, I kept going. But that's not what this is. It's not about money. It's not about to try to come out of retirement to get more money. I'm retiring because my heart's not in it, because I thought I was going to get my father back. I thought my father would be there. My father would help me push, make me create new goals in the sport. And my goal is to make that walk, and was hoping that I'd have my father, possibly even my brother, back by that time. And it hasn't happened, and everything hasn't been the same. And also a lot comes from fighting, and I won by flying triangle. I have had a lot of people contact me, a lot of people, start wanting to know what's going on with my life, becoming fans. And the more and more I do that, and the more and more I train for bigger goals, the more and more time I'm going to be away from my family, the more and more time that I'm going to miss. And I feel I'm still going to have a job. And we don't know if we're going to reach those goals. And Michael Bisping even said that on his podcast, that that's what Jimmy might have realized. Like you could sacrifice your family to try to reach those goals and then not reach them, or lose a couple fights and get cut from the UFC. What would be more devastating than to not only lose a couple fights and get cut from this UFC, but to lose a couple fights, get cut from the UFC, and lose your family because you just keep putting more time and more time and more time into it. But the main reason was because of my father, and I still have not heard from my father.
So we'll wrap on this a little bit here, which is, let me just say, first of all, I don't know you other than the professional correspondence we're having now, but it does seem like I always tell fighters, I've been covering this in the media for 15 years, Jimmy. I always tell fighters when they're, whatever the reason for retiring, it could be anything. If they feel like retiring, it's probably the good idea. And usually it's, even when they go back, they're just burned out and they want some rest. So I always think it's a good idea. In your case, I think it's an especially good idea. I think you're making really smart choices. But that being said, what is the plan for your future with your family now? Not the ones that live in the house with you, but I would imagine, these problems just don't go away, right? You got to have a strategy for the next stage. What is your plan, if you can even form one with these very hard to pin down situations?
That's what scares me, to be honest. I see it going two ways. They really hate me, and they don't like the fact that I tell my story and I tell them what they put me through. Or they realize what they put me through and they should change their life and they should reach out to me. I did an interview with Ariel earlier, and he asked me, he said, if your dad did reach out to you and your dad was like, I don't want you to retire, I want you to do more, I know you got it in you, I'll change, I'll be there, do you think you would still fight? And I told him it's hard to say 100%, but it breaks my heart so bad that he's not there, that he hasn't even tried to be there when I've asked him, I've pleaded, and it shouldn't be retirement that brings my dad back.
And also, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and if it is, I'll be happy to have my dad back, but I don't know if I would be happy to fight again.
Well, and also, if so much of fighting previously was about trying to get the family back, and now you're making a choice about what's at home, you're living for you, right? That's what you're doing here. Not just you. You and your kids and your orbit, right? You're living for your orbit, not for something else. That's just a much more centered, normal thing to do. I just feel like over time, these things are going to be difficult. All these choices are hard, but by making that shift to what your priority is, Jimmy, I feel like you're setting yourself up for the most probable amount of success that you can have in this life.
Oh, 100%. And everybody keeps saying he's going to regret this in 5 years. He's going to regret this in 5 years. What am I going to regret, guys? That I accomplished my goals? That I'm going to spend more time with my kids? I ain't going to regret that shit at all. I love my kids. I love my family. I love my wife. Been with her for 9 years. Married 9. Almost 10 years together. Me and my wife, we went through a lot. And like I said, when we started talking, she's like, what do you do for a living? I said, oh, I'm a fighter. My dad pays my bills. He works. I just go to gym in the morning. I come home. Most of the time, eat, sleep, go back to gym. That's all I did. So what was there for her to gain from that? Like, oh, this kid might become somebody. She had no clue. She didn't know what she was getting herself in. 2 months after me and her was together, she was pregnant. I'm 3-0. My wife's pregnant. Well, girlfriend at the time. We've only been together 2 months. She says, if you want to go fight and let me raise this baby on my own, you can.
Wow.
And I told her, no, I'd never do that. Not with the life I lived. I'm going to be a great father. And that comes back to what I'm doing now. I'm making the decision to be a great father. Could I fight, make a bunch of money, and be a good father? Well, yeah, but I don't want to be a good father. I want to be a great father. And that's what I'm going to do. And it wasn't long after that that me and my wife, we made a decision and we got married 2 weeks before our first kid was born. So we was only together for 9 months. We knew each other our whole life, went to school together, but that was it. And we committed to each other. She was 19, I was 20. I'm 30 years old now. She never batted an eye on what my goals were, on what I was doing. She let me work full time and train while she stayed home and was a stay-at-home mom. Now she's went to college. She graduated from nail technician. She wants to open her own business. And we bought her a business, and I kept putting it on hold, and I kept putting it on hold. And we fought about it. We argued about it. And I knew it was all me. It was my fault. But she let me keep doing what I was doing. She let it be on hold. She's always came second. Always came second in our relationship. And she's still with me. If I want to fight, she's still going to let me fight. But with everything that has happened and everything with my father and what I want in life, I want my wife, I want my kids, and I want my wife to be happy. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's why I'm retiring. And that's why I keep telling people it's not about the money. It's not about the unionization and everything. Yes, we don't have fallbacks at a fighter. And if we did, it might have helped my decision to stay longer as a fighter. But that's all it would have maybe helped it do. But I don't have the heart. I don't have the passion no more. And I'm going to give everything to my family. I might do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu, but I'm not going to put my body and my family through what it takes to become the best in the world.
Well, I got to tell you, Jimmy, I don't have a lot of conversations like this. I'll just say this to wrap it up. I think that for what it's worth, in this professional correspondence, I think you're an incredibly courageous person. I think you spent a large part of your life, from what I can tell, as an abused person, quite candidly. But I think that you are making just really ethically driven, rational choices for your life. And I have tremendous respect for you after hearing all that. I didn't know all of this. I was trying to make sure I didn't hear the other interviews, so that I could ask you a fresh set of questions. I'm sort of blown away by the whole thing, if I could just be candid with you a little bit. But I really wish you nothing but the best. I really commend you for sharing your story. And if you ever come back, we'll keep the light on for you over here. And congratulations on whatever is next for you. And of course, thank you for your time, which folks behind the scenes may not realize. We made Jimmy wait for 2 days to get our equipment in order. So we finally got it right. But Jimmy, thank you so much. And I meant everything there. I wish you truly nothing but happy days ahead.
All right, thank you, sir. I really appreciate it, man, and appreciate y'all bringing me on. These are big platforms y'all are bringing me on, and that's what I want. I want people to hear my story, and I want to get it out there and let people know this is not about money. This is not about anything else, just other than the fact that I want to live my life, and I don't have the passion or the heart to do it anymore, and that's okay. I'm going to live a good life. My kids are going to live a good life, and I'm happy with it. And I just want to get my story out, write my book, and maybe see what goals come from that. So thank you. I really appreciate it, man.
There you go, Jimmy. Well, I wish you nothing but success. Thank you for your time. And it was great covering your career. Take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, there he is. Jimmy, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry it took so long, but I think we got good stuff, and we'll put this out ASAP. All right, there he is.